À-bas-le-ciel.
You go to the Direct Action Everywhere website and search the word vegan, up pops Intrinsically Moved. The main reason consumerist advocacy is the wrong approach. You see it. Stop talking about veganism. Then it also says veganism is not cruelty-free. And then it says how the Go Vegan message perpetuates the objectification of non-humans. So I'm really not finding anything positive about going vegan from DxE, Wayne. And I think that before the break, Gary was saying, like, well, what is somebody supposed to do? You know, I mean, you say, okay, well, you want to intervene if somebody's beating a dog on the street. You have 9 billion animals who are being slashed to death. I don't know, do we go to the slaughterhouses and turn off the electricity, or do we go vegan? What does until every animal is free mean to you, and how do we achieve it?
Is standing up in Chipotle and saying it's not food, it's violence. How is that any more, quote, action, end quote, than tabling and spending hours talking to people about why they should go vegan if they regard animals as members of the moral community?
All right, guys, I need to ask you to leave. You're obstructing our business. We have a letter here.
Letter from the CEO, Steve Ells.
A letter, an open letter to your CEO, Steve Ells.
We have a few short words and an open letter to Chipotle's CEO, Steve Ells.
Steve made an important promise to run his business in a way which would never exploit animals.
We are here to speak up for the countless animals whose lives have been stolen.
Chipotle forces castration and mutilation on non-human animals.
Why is that any more action, Wayne?
It's absolutely not, Gary. And I think they're both very important forms of activism. But I just want to pose maybe a rhetorical question for the two of you. Have either of you actually ever been inside one of these places of violence? One of these hellholes?
I've been in about 30 slaughterhouses, Wayne. How many have you been in?
I've been in probably about 60. And I've investigated many of them, not consensually, but in the cover of night. And when you've been inside of these facilities over and over again, not on a tour, not on a visit, but to identify the most terrible abuses that are happening behind these closed doors, there's something that changed in you. And I was in a Northern California Whole Foods farm just a few months ago, and what you see when you go inside these farms is an urgent and desperate need for action now. Hens that are covered with filth, dying, dozens of them already dead, laying in piles everywhere. Hens that can barely even breathe because the air is so filled with sulfur dioxide and filth that it burns their throat every breath they take. And when you see this sort of violence over and over again, it inspires you to action. Because for every one that you save, and we did save a number of these hens from this facility, there are literally thousands who are left behind.
Wayne, come on.
It gives you a sense of just how real this violence is and how important it is to take immediate action. Gary, let me finish. I let you talk and I don't interrupt, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't interrupt me. It inspires you and gives you a sense of just how important it is to take direct and immediate action to rescue these animals. But this is not just an emotional reaction. Because as a social... Gary, could I finish, please, Gary? I've been respectful and tried to let you finish. I just have one thought. Gary, I'm just about done. Can I just finish this one thought? Because this isn't just an emotional reaction when we say we need to take nonviolent direct action and not just settle with veganism. Because as a social scientist who has studied social movements, for the past 10 years of my life with some of the best scholars in the world, I can tell you that nonviolent direct action has the power to change the world. The Underground Railroad brought down the system of chattel slavery when free produce could not. Emmeline Pankhurst's disruptions of Parliament, not education but disruption, brought women the right to vote in the United Kingdom, and from the United Kingdom, the world. And the gay rights movement made progress only when it was willing to take powerful and disruptive collective action.
You have rescued a hen,
I literally have one sentence left, Gary. One sentence, Gary.
Okay, Gary, look, Wayne says he has one sentence left, so let him...
So Erica Chenoweth, a political scientist who won the prize for being the best political scientist in 2013, has studied hundreds of social movements over the past 200 years and has said that all you need is 3.5% of the population, at a maximum. 3.5% of the population engage in nonviolent direct action and disruption, and you're guaranteed to win. Most social movements win with far less. So all we need to do is convince 2 out of 100 people to go out there and, yes, disrupt the Chipotle, disrupt the Whole Foods, disrupt the slaughterhouse or a factory farm, disrupt all of them, and we will bring so much attention to this cause that the issue of animal rights will be on the New York Times front page every day of the year.
Going vegan is nonviolent direct action.
The social science, exactly. The social science studies that I've seen talk about 10% of a population, and I'm all in favor of trying to get to 10%, so that we can change the conversation. But I think, Wayne, you've simplified those social science findings. But let's not. What I want to talk about is you've rescued a couple of hens, and you post all this stuff, this material that promotes your organization. This idea that you are involved, like on a daily basis, with going and disrupting, all you're doing is standing up in Chipotle saying it's not food, it's violence, and you don't even have a vegan message. You partner with organizations that send public letters to Whole Foods expressing their appreciation and support, including Bruce Friedrich, including PETA, including Farm Sanctuary, including Compassion Over Killing, including Vegan Outreach. These organizations support Whole Foods. Those are the groups that you think we need to build bridges with. Those are the groups that you talk about supporting incremental reform as long as it's sustainable. I mean, Wayne, what are we talking about here? And I'm also looking at animal liberation because astonishingly, Wayne, for somebody who's been studying things for 10 years, you really need to read Animal Liberation. Granted, even here, killing still seems repugnant. An animal may struggle against a threat to its life, even if it cannot grasp that it has a life in the sense that requires an understanding of what it is to exist over a period of time. But in the absence of some form of mental continuity, it is not easy to explain why the loss to the animal killed is not, from an impartial point of view, made good by the creation of a new animal who will lead an equally pleasant life. There you go, Wayne. That's animal liberation from way back then. And you're telling me that you use animal liberation because you agree with what Peter Singer said back then. Well, sorry, that's what he said back then. Maybe you ought to think about reading the book and changing the locution, because it's not a matter of terminology. It's a very important matter of substance.
Gary, we can have a debate about what Peter Singer believed in 1975. I think it would be better to ask him directly. But the reality is we are not working with Peter Singer. We are not working with Bruce Friedrich. We are challenging them. I agree completely that welfarism makes people complacent, that there's no evidence that it leads to real improvements for animals in the short or long term. If we want to problematize animal welfare, if we want to problematize the humane meat scam, then we are doing it. And I'm asking you, Gary, what have you done over the past year to problematize the humane myth, or to encourage animal rights activists to challenge it? And
Wayne, I got news for you.
Talking about the humane myth. I think that's progress we should acknowledge.
Whole Foods is full of meat. I have news for you, okay? I don't know what you think you've done, number one. Number two, as far as what people in the welfare movement concern, I can document for you the fact that they have been talk out of both sides of their mouth. So you can say, well, Ingrid has attacked the humane myth, at the same time that I'm looking at a website from Bell & Evans Chicken where Ingrid is talking about how Bell & Evans has set a new standard for the chicken industry. So they talk out of different sides of their fundraising mouth. I can't doubt that. Indeed, I've been pointing that out for a number of years now. But the idea, what is this idea? What have you been doing to show that the whole humane exploitation thing is a scam? Wayne, I spend every day of my life.
We had an investigation in the New York Times, Gary.
I'm sorry?
We had an investigation of a humane farm that was in the New York Times that over 5 million people around the world saw. And we had thousands of people writing to us saying they were going vegan.
You know what comes out, Wayne? What comes out is that you're attacking the idea that these places are humane. You're not attacking the use you're attacking treatment. Just like MFA does, just like Compassion Over Killing does, just like all of these other groups do. You attack treatment. You don't attack use. The only way you can attack use is to have a vegan message. And you said it before. Well, I copied it down, Wayne. I hope it's an accurate quote. You said, I do not agree that veganism is the moral baseline. Action is the moral baseline. Wayne, I'm sorry. That is absolutely incoherent. You need to have a theory to inform your action. This idea that we don't have to go vegan, that veganism is an impediment to the animal movement, but we need action. What are you talking about? That is incoherent.
Gary, I don't think anyone who's currently involved in DxE thinks veganism is an impediment to the animal rights movement. I know there's some blog posts written by another organizer, and we do allow a lot of diversity of opinion within DxE, but all of us agree that veganism is a necessary condition to achieving animal liberation. But our perspective is just that we have to go beyond that. And again, Gary,
let's start with it, though. Can we start with it?
A dog right in front of you. Do you think inaction is enough? Or do you think we have to go to something beyond that? And if we do have to go to something beyond that, why not ask people for what we should be asking them for? Action for animals instead of just veganism. Don't let them be happy.
That is action for animals.
Why do you need to take action for animals beyond what we buy and sell in our own personal lives?
Wayne, why do we need investigations? What do we need to discover? They're killing the animals. Whether they're doing it nicely or whether they're doing it not nicely, they're killing the animals. What do you need investigations for, Wayne? What do you need investigations for, except for fundraising, Wayne? What do you need investigations?
We actually didn't fundraise off that investigation a single dollar. But, Gary, do you believe that humane meat is a scam?
Wayne. You're on radio now. You're telling me that you got no donations for your activist stipends?
We did not put out a single solicitation for funds after that investigation. Not a single one. Our 2014 budget was $4,000, which is $10,000, 10,000 times less than Peter's, 100,000 times less than HSQS.
It's really an astonishing conversation we had here. It seems that, Wayne, you have confirmed your support for Bruce Friedrich and the groups with whom he is associated. What's astonishing to me is how you support him when I mean, you're probably rescuing chickens from the conditions he's created with his support, Farm Sanctuary support, all these group support for the Egg Products Inspection Act, and enriched cages are now the humane standard. So go rescue chickens from the conditions created by Bruce Friedrich. Wayne says, first, if our goal is network building, it's absolutely vital to emphasize that our model of activism, building a movement for nonviolent direct action, complements many of the strategies taken by other groups. If we are successful, as I fully expect we will be, our activism will make the lobbying, outreach, and education that Bruce Friedrich does exponentially more effective. Wayne, as I've been trying to say for years, these groups are the meat industry. They are butchers. I don't know how you don't see that, and I don't see why you're not protesting against Bruce for the conditions he created from which you have to rescue chickens.
Nonviolent direct action is the strongest.
Is it more important to be an activist or a vegan, if you had your choice?
And if we're confident that we can win the debate, our main objective as activists and as a movement has to be to bring attention to this issue. And with over 200 press articles about our campaigns and investigations over the past year, we have brought a massive amount of attention to this issue, and we're winning that argument.
You're branding, Wayne, and I agree. You're doing a good job of branding. I'm looking at your website where you talk about your groundbreaking investigations, and there's a big, fat, red donate button. So please do not say that you are not fundraising off of your investigations. It's on your page, point number one. Point number two, the idea that, this idea that we can be activists, but we don't have to be vegans, is contentless nonsense. It is contentless nonsense.
Did anyone say that, Gary?
I'm sorry?
Did anyone say that?
What?
That we can be activists, effective activists, without being vegan? I don't think anyone said that.
What you said,
I think
Wayne.
What we said is that to be an effective activist, you have to move beyond veganism, Gary.
Wayne, you see, I'm trying to have a discussion, Wayne. I don't want to hear your speeches. I'd like to have a discussion with you. I'm trying to have a discussion, and I can't engage you. I have to wait until you get done. So please, let me, if we're going to do it that way, let me get done. What you said was, I do not believe that veganism is the moral baseline. Action is the moral baseline. That's what you said. That's a quote. Do you deny saying that? Because you did. So you tell me how that makes sense to you, because I think that is contentless nonsense.
À-bas-le-ciel.